Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Spumelele Zondi. Now, the past week saw SABC crying foul and taking Vodacom and MTN to the Competition Commission in South Africa. Kenya is making threats to mobile phone network operators. Today, we will also discuss what happens to your digital data once you pass away. Those are just some of the issues we'll look at. Be a part of our network by following us on Twitter and liking us on Facebook. Tweet us and Facebook us on SABC Network. You can also email us on newsnetwork@sabc.co.za. Let's start with your technology news now. Many people choose to hide on Facebook and not get found by millions of users of the social networking site. If you'd hidden yourself, then I wouldn't find you even if I tried. That is, unless a common friend tags you in a photograph, and then I would find you by clicking on your name on the tag. But that's about to change as Facebook tweaks your privacy on the site.
You may not be able to hide your whole profile anymore, but you can still hide some of your posts from those you don't want to see them. You can also still hide certain information from some users. It's not the first time Facebook changes its user privacy. The popular social network site has undergone a series of changes over the years. In 2005, for example, the network graduated from being used only by Harvard University students to having a version for high school students. The year 2006, however, was a stepping stone for the site, as major tweaks such as the merging of Facebook's college and high school pages, activation of mobile photo uploads, and the search functionality added to former classmates and co-workers. Many have moaned and groaned over Facebook's many changes, but the social network's popularity evidently proves that people eventually grow into the changes.
South Africans have spent the last week in excitement as it was revealed call tariffs are to go down. Regulator Independent Communications Authority of South Africa, or ICASA, says levies paid by smaller mobile phone network operators to bigger players is too much. If this is cut, then the consumer will win. Cell C is also now taking Vodacom and MTN to the Competition Commission.
Interconnection rates are what operators charge to connect calls on each other's networks. These rates are paid for by the subscribers. Over the past 3 years, ICASA has slashed the rates to just 40 cents for every minute you spend on a call. The regulator insists this is still not enough and that it is not in line with international best practice. It wants interconnect fees to be lowered to just 10 cents come the year 2016, meaning the consumers will pay less.
Sometimes you only have cents and you want to make an important call, just cut through the call and you don't even finish whatever you wanted to say.
And to give me more value for money with my airtime.
The best thing ever, because it costs a lot of money to buy airtime.
This is bad news for Vodacom and MTN. As the two largest cell phone network providers in the country, most of the calls we make go through their networks. Lower interconnection rates are expected to create greater competition between operators. The trading market believes this does not favor the two network giants.
Cell C will be more able, with its asymmetric rate, different rate to Vodacom, will be more able to offer better deals to customers. So it's great for the consumer, great for Cell C, great for Telkom Mobile, but not good for Vodacom South Africa and MTN South Africa.
Meanwhile, Cell C has lodged a complaint with the Competition Commission against MTN and Vodacom for discriminatory pricing. Cell C says the two offer discounts when customers call subscribers on their network but charge a premium for calls to other networks.
E-tolls don't seem to be going away despite heavy criticism by many groups in South Africa. The South African National Roads Agency, or SANRAL, has published new tariffs of what road users might pay to drive on highways. These are up for public comment. Producer Tsile Khaswane has the story of what you could be charged as you drive under one of these massive structures that will automatically deduct money from your account.
The Open Road Tolling System, or ORT, has been adopted in some countries around the world. ORT is the collection of tolls on highways without the use of toll booths. An electronic toll collection system is usually used instead. In the Gauteng province of South Africa, the system has been branded e-tolling and is rather unpopular.
Well, I'm glad somebody's protesting against the e-tolls, and I think that they shouldn't put them up. We shouldn't allow them to be, we pay enough tax.
I think the protest, it causes a bit of discord, but if the reasons are make sense, then that's cool.
this thing, the e-toll thing, will affect us. Probably, it's not a good thing at all.
A few weeks back, the South African President Jacob Zuma signed e-tolls into law. And now the roads agency has announced revised tariffs. Registered motorcyclists who travel between Johannesburg and Pretoria regularly can expect to pay on average 250 rands each month. Regular cars will be charged 450 rands. And Class B and C vehicles such as trucks will be the most charged. But the government says it has reduced tariffs for particular motorists.
E-toll tariffs have been reduced in response to public comment. Poor passengers have been taken care of through the exemption of public transport operators from paying toll fees. A monthly payment cap has been introduced and a rebate system exists for transport companies. Cabinet calls on users of Gauteng's freeways to abide by the law, demonstrate good citizenship and make their contribution to a better South Africa by registering for e-tax and paying for use of these world-class roads.
There are quite a few objects in the universe capable of causing a seriously bad day on planet Earth. A wayward comet landing on Earth is one of them. Thankfully, comets remain mostly in space, and as a result, it's very difficult to spot evidence of them on Earth. But now a group of very excited South African scientists believe they have found such evidence right here in our backyard.
A team of scientists from across the country say they've discovered the first evidence of a comet that entered Earth's atmosphere. They calculate the comet entered the Earth's atmosphere above Egypt some 28 million years ago.
They are exceedingly rare events, and that's why we are so excited to hold a piece of a comet in our hands, because comets normally never enter our neighborhood. Yes, we can see them in the sky with their glowing tails and fiery heads, but they never enter our Earth's atmosphere, except for this one.
A black pebble found years earlier by an Egyptian geologist is at the heart of the research. The scientists are saying this represents the very first known hand specimen of a comet nucleus, and not a meteor as originally thought. A meteor is a bit of rock or other debris that burns up in the sky.
This, allow me to state, is the first documented case of a comet ever striking our planet Earth.
Scientists from Wits University, the University of Johannesburg, the University of Cape Town, and the South African Nuclear Energy Corporation have achieved what many have been unable to. Space agencies from around the world have spent billions to secure the smallest amounts of pristine comet matter.
It now gives me great pleasure.
In Zimbabwe, a service for informal traders without money in bank accounts has been created. EcoCash Save is a new application by Econet Wireless Zimbabwe. The service is in partnership with Stewart Bank. They say they estimate about 30 billion rand is circulating in informal sector. But this is because people are scared of high bank charges. So with EcoCash Save, Econet promises that charges will still be there, but will be lower than normal. One needs a mobile phone for the service. Kenyan police have started questioning CEOs of mobile phone network operators in the country. The police are unhappy about users who haven't registered their SIM cards. They believe these are used to commit certain crimes in Kenya. They also feel there's a possibility some of these unregistered cards could be linked to the Westgate Mall attacks, which left at least 67 people dead in the capital, Nairobi, recently.
Registration of SIM card has become law in many African countries. Failure to comply may lead to serious legal measures. In Kenya, the government is saying action must definitely be taken. CEOs of Orange, Safaricom, Airtel and You appeared before the Directorate of Criminal Investigation Department. This was an effort to defend allegations made against them by the Communication Commission of Kenya. The mobile network companies has been accused of allowing unregistered lines to be used on their network. These lines, according to the CCK, were used for communications by the Westgate Mall attackers. CID Director Dewa Mhoru says Westgate attack investigation have been hampered since some of the SIM cards were not registered in accordance with the law. But the mobile network CEO have denied that Al-Shabaab used their lines to communicate.
Last week, we reported on an online drug bust that took place in the United States of America. A website called Silk Road was selling drugs using an online currency called Bitcoins and not actual money. Lebusi Jage tells us more about what Bitcoins actually are.
Silk Road is a notorious U.S. online drug marketplace. Its owner is Ross William Ulbricht, and he is currently in hot soup with the law. People were using Bitcoins to buy drugs like heroin and cocaine on the now shut down website. Though gaining popularity in cyberspace, many still remain clueless on what Bitcoins are exactly.
The short answer of what is a Bitcoin is it is the currency of the internet. It's digital currency that people can use just like they use cash, except they don't have to be right across the table from each other. They can be anywhere in the world. It's entirely borderless.
It seems the currency's link to Silk Road hasn't decreased its popularity.
It's a terrible tool for money laundering. And it's a terrible tool for criminal activity either. And now that the Silk Road has been shut down, I think that people have really telegraphed their confidence in that statement. Without the Silk Road, people still want Bitcoins.
The online currency is also steadily gaining ground with online retailers such as Amazon.com.
A few products launched in Kenya and South Africa this week. Let's find out what they are.
On Monday, the brand new Nintendo 2DS will be making its way to select South African retailers. This will be just in time for the festive season in the continent's biggest economy and most lucrative gaming market. The 2Ds will not feature the lens magnifying 3D capabilities of the 3Ds. But you will still be able to play all your 3Ds and Ds games with the 2Ds. The highly popular gaming gadget will come in black and blue, as well as white and red. The handset comes at a recommended retail price of 1,499 rands. On Friday, Samsung launched the Galaxy Note 3 in East Africa's largest market, Kenya. This forms part of the electronics maker's ongoing global launch of the new smartphone in key markets. Kenya is the second country in Africa to host the launch of the Galaxy Note 3 after South Africa. The Galaxy Note 3 is slimmer and lighter with a more comfortable grip. Kenya has also seen the launch of the Gear Watch, which is compatible with the Note 3 phablet. The new offering will retail at 79,000 shillings, which is around 9,200 rand.
Let's take a break now and we'll return with our conversation on that Women in Tech conference. Remember, it's SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter, News Network at sabc.co.za and email. Don't go away.
Hello, Africa, and welcome to this week's episode of Kaleidoscope. We'll be sampling the creme de la creme of entertainment, arts and culture, lifestyle, and travel. So stay tuned as we bring you the beauty, sights, and sounds of Africa.
That's Kaleidoscope, Sundays 5:30 p.m. on SABC News, Channel 404.
Why watch the news on SABC? We bring you news in your own language. News that affect you. Sports. We have
Catherine Drew, SABC News at the High Court in London.
Sherman Bryce, please, SABC News.
Sarah Kimani, SABC News, Nairobi.
We touch and change people's lives. SABC News, Africa's news leader.
Africa's IT industry seems to be doing a lot of work at the moment. There are many programs and applications that cater specifically for Africans. International technology companies are also realizing that Africa is a space they should operate in. Many involved in technology spaces in Africa are women. Lebosi Jage tells us about some of these women.
Women have in the past been sidelined in the information technology sector, but they are steadily making a mark in the male-dominated field. Yahoo CEO Marissa Mayer is a perfect example. She has played a major role in maintaining women's contributions in the tech world. African women, however, have also contributed in the latter. ICT programs such as the Black Girls Code, led by Regional MD of Pan-African ThoughtWorks, Betty Enyamo Kumaho, invest in the future of women in the IT sector. South Africa's Women Empowering Conference, called the Wired Women Conference, has the same goal. The conference will be taking place on the 15th of October, and this will be its third year running. The main target being the geek girl, the digital diva, the social entrepreneur, and even those technophobes who would love to work in the technical industry.
There will be a discussion on women seen as agents of change through technology and innovation. It takes place in Johannesburg this week. The talk is to highlight some innovations that are coming out of Africa. Speakers will predominantly be women here. Joining me in the studio to talk about this is Debbie Edelstein, co-founder of Quality Life Company. Debbie, hello and welcome.
Thank you for having me. Hello.
Now, why women specifically?
Well, I am a self-appointed champion of women's leadership. For the last 9 years, I've been running a women's leadership conference about women's leadership in general. And a few years ago, I attended a Women in Technology conference and was horrified to see that not a single woman in South Africa was showcased. So I decided that it was high time that we showcased some of the brilliant women heading up technology companies and pioneering such innovations in South Africa.
I take it some of the women will be invited as well.
They have indeed. We have Betty Kumaho, who I know has been on your show before. We have Monica Singer. We have many others, but we do have men as well. We believe very much in gender mainstreaming. And we think that a conversation like this needs to show men and women leaders together having a conversation about, not only about technology, because this isn't just for techies. It's about innovation, it's about leadership, it's about social media, and it's about using the platform of technology to innovate and to create jobs.
Now, that's very interesting that you say you've included men there as well.
Yes.
But one would think that if you're holding a conference for women and a discussion for women, it's only women that will be there.
Interesting, but I think that things have changed a lot over the last 9 years since we've run this conversation. And many women, especially powerful women who run companies, have told us that they want to network with their male peers in organizations. They don't just want to network with women, and they want to show their male peers, how the work that they are doing stands toe to toe with them. And I think that if we're going to gender mainstream, which is becoming very much the buzzword in leadership circles now, it's really important that we work together. So you'll see that the conference agenda is very much dominated by women, but the men who are speaking for us are doing important work in terms of making the industry more woman-friendly as well.
But isn't there an increase in the number of women that are now in technology? Because one would think if there is an increase, then it's not a conversation we should be having.
There's an increase, but the increase is slow. And I think that it's a problem that is twofold. Some believe that women are a little backward about coming forward and our voices need to be louder. And we'll be addressing that at the conference. We'll be talking about social media as a platform for leadership, how we should be using social media to have burning, important issues rather than just chit-chat. But also it's an industry conversation as well. How do organizations make their organizations more woman-friendly? Through flexi time. How do they employ more women? So I think it's a complex conversation.
Now, the conversation you will specifically be participating in is called a glass ceiling on Twitter.
Exactly.
What will you be talking about there?
Well, it's interesting. That's a conversation that I picked up on Twitter. There's a woman called Tanvi Gautam, who's in fact in India, and she ran an article, I think it was, I forget where it was, but it got a whole lot of traction. And she said that there's no glass ceiling on Twitter. There is no glass ceiling on Twitter because if we find the women who are having the important conversations, they're using Twitter to raise these conversations. So we are using this platform, this panel, to speak about how we can use social media to discuss leadership. And we're going to invite Tanvi to join us through Twitter at the conference.
All right, Debbie Edelstein, co-founder of Quality Life. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, when we return, we discuss what happens to all the data that you upload online when you die. Participate in the discussion, SABC Network on both Twitter and Facebook. Email us, newsnetwork@sabc.co.za. Stay with us.
Hello, Pastor John.
Oh, wow. Okay, he admitted it.
I was 7, walking from a distance from Davidton. I'm walking all the way to Witbank. And in my young mind, I believe it's a walking distance.
We had a smooth transition from 1988 up to 1994.
Not everyone had a TV.
We didn't have criminal records. We didn't have, the things that Cape Town arrivals normally had.
Why opera?
There was a gap. I took it, and it worked out.
That's Up Close, Monday to Thursday, 2:30 p.m. on SABC News.
Welcome back. We update our details on websites like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter and blogs all the time. But do we ever wonder what would happen to these when we pass on? It's not just information that's on our private social media pages that we should worry about. There's even an app called If I Die. Take a look.
Last words. We all hope we'll get a chance to say some. But not knowing when or where we're going to die makes it a bit tricky. Thankfully, with If I Die, it's a whole lot easier. If I Die is a unique Facebook app that allows you to leave a message that will only be published after you die. Simply install the app on Facebook, leave your message, and choose trustees that will be in charge of reporting your death. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, I don't remember scheduling an appointment with death anytime soon. And you're right, but so is death, right around the corner. So don't wait until it's too late. Leave your message today. It can be a bid farewell, a favorite joke, a long-kept secret, an old score you wanted to settle, or even some valuable advice. If I die, what will you leave behind?
If I die, what will you leave behind? Now, joining us in the studio to talk about digital estates is Dylan McLaren. He is the interactive media imagineer at Troika. Hello and welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Now, what is a digital estate?
Well, do you have a few hours so I can explain?
No, I don't. You only have 5 minutes.
A digital estate essentially is similar to your real-world estate in that it is the things that you leave behind after you die. And many people don't think about this. And when 8,000 Facebook users die every day around the world, I think these issues are going to get more and more important. Every post, every photograph, every like, every tag, these all form part of your digital estate, the data that you leave on the web after you pass on, essentially.
What are some of the policies that social media companies have around this?
It's a very interesting question because each company tends to have a different policy. Facebook, for example, recently changed their policy to a policy of memoriam instead of deactivation. What they now do is that they memorialize your page when you pass on instead of deactivating it. And what memorialization means essentially is turning it into a sort of online shrine where people can come and write messages for you, you know, happy birthday messages, etc. Everyone has that friend who's passed on and whose Facebook page remains active.
That's very interesting because comments on our Facebook site said at least one was saying that they'd like it on for about a week and then off. And then another one said they'd like somebody to be tweeting or Facebooking 5 years on. But don't people have a say on what they'd like, let's say, Facebook to do?
They do have a say, but interestingly enough, we've all accepted these terms and conditions when we signed up to Facebook. And they recently changed their policy, as these social media networks tend to do all the time. And we all scrolled through all that long-winded text and click next. Yes, we accept the terms and conditions. Those terms and conditions are memorialization, essentially. So as much as you can control what happens to that data, at the moment, if you don't have further steps that you've taken, your Facebook page will be memorialized.
All right, if I want it, let's say, taken down, what should I do?
There are various steps that people can take. The first and foremost is if you do have a testamentary document, like a will, a last will and testament, you can include a clause in that document giving directions that they should be shut down. Alternatively, you can also hand your password and login details to someone that you trust. And otherwise, just keep a record somewhere, and also be very careful about how you manage your online profile while you're alive. I think that's another thing that people don't focus on enough.
That's interesting. You talk about putting your passwords in a will. Now, how safe is it to give my passwords to a lawyer while I'm still alive?
Absolutely. I think as a lawyer, I've always felt that my clients could trust me, but obviously it's a massive, massive step to take, and people are very protective over their passwords. I think each person has to decide for themselves what they want, how they want these profiles to be handled after they're gone, and needs to make provision for that. Do it in your will. If you do have someone you trust enough, you can give them your password. There are also various apps online that people can use to look after their estate, as per the video that you just showed.
But it's not just social media, that's the thing. It's also, you might find that people have money that's moving around online.
Absolutely, and I think if you think about how many platforms we operate on every day. I'm sure you have a Facebook page, maybe a Gmail account, online banking, LinkedIn, as you said. This data is far more valuable, and I feel like we're still coming to grips with the realities of having digital personalities and digital identities.
Yeah. All right, Dylan McLaren from Troika, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, let's find out a bit of what's been happening in social media this week. In South Africa, Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu celebrated his birthday a week ago. He's been getting birthday wishes for the past week from many people from across the continent. Sunday newspaper reports puts Hawks boss Lieutenant General Anwar Dramat at the center of a rendition scandal. South Africans have been sharing their views in social media. This tweet says the Scorpions, the Hawks predecessor, must return. The leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Julius Malema, said black South Africans must stop being coconuts. This was when he was launching the party in the Northwest Province. Many have been discussing this statement on Twitter. Right, that's all we have for you. Remember to be a part of our network. It's SABC Network on both Twitter and Facebook. We are on email address newsnetwork@sabc.co.za. And the video we leave you out with is on Vimeo. It's on the Vadim Shahakian page. It's two friends traveling across 3 continents. The beats we play out with on Zimbabwe. Bye-bye.
Sun goes down and the moon cries out, it's love for you. The world confides in the love that hides between the two. And I know I'm not afraid to call this home, and I know that you aren't too.